Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Not So Critically Acclaimed podcast. I'm Laura, and I know it has been a very long time, just over 3 years to be exact, since I recorded my last podcast episode. And also, this is the first time you're seeing me in the podcast format because we're doing an audio and visual one. So, hello, and it's been a long time coming, as Taylor Swift would say. I've been wanting to get back into the podcast space for some time, but have been playing around with like how I was going to do that. So, thank you to everyone who's been following me, who was a loyal listener of the original podcast, and for being patient. I know there were people who definitely wanted this to come back. So, allow me to reintroduce myself with some housekeeping, though, so everyone can understand where we're going with the podcast. So, as I said before, my name is Laura. I'm the creator behind Not So Critically Acclaimed, which is basically a space where we talk about all the fun, feel-good TV shows and movies that aren't critically acclaimed. Some can be, but most aren't. I'm talking the teen dramas, the rom-coms, the musicals, the feel-good comedies, just all around light stuff. And I started this as a podcast back in 2020 where I would give like recommendations for TV shows. And then eventually I got onto Instagram and TikTok and did more short form video there. But I know that everyone gets into the podcast space, and I actually was there first before doing short form, and I've always wanted to go back. It's just been a matter of figuring out how to. So, without further ado, let me introduce how we're going to be doing this. So, my plan is a little ambitious for now, but I'm thinking every week I'll record a podcast episode that is discussing everything that happened the week prior in the world of TV and movie. So whether that is new casting information came out, we got a release date for a show, we got a new trailer, or I just watched the new show and want to talk about it. Any of that kind of stuff where we hear a show's been canceled, like literally anything that I would maybe make a short form video about, we're going to talk about at length in the podcast. I'm also going to include a section at the end where I go through what I'm currently watching so you guys can just like stay up to date. And that is my idea. So every week recapping everything that happened in the week prior. Now, if there is interest, I'm thinking of potentially doing that subscription format where if you pay like a small fee, you get bonus content. And for the bonus content, I would be doing my old model of Not So Critically Acclaimed. So if you listen to the old podcast, you know what I'm talking about. But if not, basically the old format used to be every week, and then it switched to every 2 weeks. I picked a TV show that I would give as a recommendation, and that show would get 2 episodes. The first episode would be completely spoiler free. It would just be an overview of the show, who stars in the show, and like how I found it and my experience watching it. And then the second episode, a lot of times I would be joined by another creator as my guest, and we would discuss the show with spoilers. So whether it was a show that was out in entirety and we would talk about the entire show, or maybe it was a show whose new season just came out and we would talk about it. And that would include spoilers, of course, and it would just be all of the opinions and funny trends we saw related to it, anything under the sun. So if there is interest, I will potentially bring that back maybe every 2 weeks or maybe once a month. I really don't want to burn myself out as I'm just getting back into this. But it's going to definitely depend on the demand and what you guys want. So make sure to let me know. And then we can bring back that fun format. But yeah, okay, so that's enough of the housekeeping. Now let's get to the good stuff of the week. So the very first thing that happened this week in the world of TV and movies that we're going to talk about is Tell Me Lies. They gave us the season 3 premiere date, January 13th on Hulu. So we're going to see the first 2 episodes on that date, and then it's 8 episodes for the whole season. So there'll be, I'm assuming, 1 episode then weekly, and I think January 13th is a Tuesday. I know last season they were Wednesdays, but I'm actually excited about the weekly drops because Tell Me Lies season 2 I thought was fantastic, and it really got me back into the game for it. Like, I remember watching season 1, I don't know if you guys, it was like 2022 maybe, and I remember seeing videos about it on social media, and specifically I saw a video of the actress who plays Lydia, and she made a video, like her friends were watching the show or something, and she said like, oh, POV, like you have to wait 6 months till you can tell your friends that like you're the plot twist and tell me lies. So that intrigued me, and I saved the video, and then eventually I did watch the show, and obviously I learned the whole like cliffhanger like twist with her character at the end. So season 1 was okay. Then when season 2 came back, first of all, didn't remember anything. I had to watch like this sketchy YouTube video. It wasn't that sketchy. It was just like weird audio, like the audio description kind of voice giving a overview of season 1. So don't worry, I will give you guys an overview of season 2 before season 3 drops, because you know I got you. But I didn't remember anything, and I went into Tell Me Lies. I feel like not many people were talking about it that much, but then I feel like it blew up. I think season 2, like, first of all, definitely loved it more than season 1, and it made me much more of a fan and more excited. Like, Tell Me Lies got added to my list of the shows that I was going to be most excited for in 2026. And we're not even going to have to wait that long. So I'm really, really excited. It feels like the old school, like, Pretty Little Liars game, in the sense of, like, I would watch and then, like, be so excited to go to school the next day and talk to everyone about it. Like, that's going to be Tell Me Lies, but just with my coworkers. So that's going to be fun. We did get some details about the season 2, though. So first of all, we got some first look photos, which are always really fun to see. They also shared a little bit of like teases about what's going to happen in the season. So first of all, the biggest thing I think we can take away from what the creator said was we've seen throughout the show that Bree keeps getting these calls on her wedding day, and we don't know who has been calling her. And we're finally going to find out who's been calling her on the day of her wedding. So that's really exciting. Let me know, like, drop your thoughts in the comments, though. Who are your theories? Because I know there are a lot swarming out there. I think Bree's going to have an even bigger season this season than last season. But we also know Tom Ellis, who played Oliver, the professor that she was having an affair with. He will be back, even though we were told that he wasn't going to be in season 3. Fun fact also, in case you didn't know, Tom Ellis is actually married to the creator of the show, Megan Oppenheimer. So that's a fun fact. And then we're getting 2 new cast members. We've got Iris Apatow. She's playing a freshman who is like bubbly but fragile because she's hiding a very big secret. And then we've got Costa D'Angelo, who is playing a psychology grad student. He's going to have a lot of fun with this whole motley crew. And he is also a part-time drug dealer, but the creator said that it's important to know, like, he got into that just to get himself through school. He's not like a shady guy. Like, he's actually described as a protector. And he actually has like a connection to Bree. So we're going to get to see Bree like explore that. And I think Bree's also connected to Iris Apatow's character. And so we're going to get to see her unfold all of that. But we also know that Costa D'Angelo's character, the psych grad student, different sides of him are going to come out from Bree and Lucy. So we got to lock in for this. Season 3 of Tell Me Lies, January 13th on Hulu. Of course, like I said, I will be giving you a whole overview of season 2 so you can remember everything before watching. And then, of course, I will be doing probably like weekly reviews and predictions because it just makes it more fun, you know? But yeah, so that is Tell Me Lies season 3. The next thing we're going to talk about is Dancing with the Stars. Last week was the 20th anniversary of the show. It's been on since 2005. I have not been watching it that long. I started watching it in 2013. Season 16 with Zendaya was my first season. But I have really, really loved Dancing with the Stars. Like, if you know me, it's one of my favorite shows. I feel like season 27, Milo's rob of a win, is really what cemented me as a diehard fan. And then I know in the last couple of years there have been like this resurgence of the show and new fans and this Gen Z and TikTok and everything. So I'm just really glad that people are finally getting onto it. And someone said it the best actually on social media, that it's not like I don't watch Dancing with the Stars. I watch Dancing with the Pros. And like, if you've been a fan for a long time, that is so true. Like, the pros are the recurring cast members and the stars are kind of like the guest stars. So I love the pros. I could talk about Dancing with the Stars forever. If you want me to do like a whole other podcast episode or YouTube video, whatever, about Dancing with the Stars, let me know, because I have so many thoughts about the whole franchise in general. But specifically, last week they celebrated their 20th birthday. So the theme of the episode was just like all sorts of nostalgia. They invited, I think people have said that they invited like any pro, any star, anyone from like production, cast, crew, anything like that who had worked on the show in the last 20 years. I think they were all like, everyone was invited to come back. And so many people did. Specifically, one person in particular was a very special get to come back. And if you've been a fan of the show, you know, but if you're newer to the show, Tom Bergeron, okay? Tom Bergeron was the original host of the show back from episode 1. He had many different co-stars across the years. Like when I first started watching it, it was him and Erin Andrews. But he was just like such a core part of the show. Like just even hearing his voice in the opening when he said like live from a ballroom, it's Dancing with the Stars. I was just like, or live from Hollywood. I was just like, oh my God, it really brought me back. And it was crazy. You didn't know how much you missed it till he was back. And he was a guest judge this week, and he did a phenomenal job because not every guest judge does a great job, as we've seen this season so far. But specifically, I'll give you the little like lore drop in case you don't know about Tom Bergeron. So like I said, he was the host from day 1 up until like 20 years in, I guess, in like, not 20 years, 15 years in 2019. Basically it was the summer before the fall season, or at this time, this was now going to be the only season because this was the turn. It was right after season 27. Milo had just lost to Bobby Bones, and Dancing with the Stars took a year off essentially. Normally they would have a fall season, that was that season, and then they would come back in the spring. But they opted out of the spring season in 2019 and were gearing up for the fall season in 2019. And at that point, going from that point on, there would only be the one season in the fall. And so over the summer, Tom had met with some of the producers and they were talking about like casting and stuff. And Tom made the comment of like how next year was 2020. It was going to be an election year and we should just steer clear of political figures, and let Dancing with the Stars be like 2 hours a week where everyone can just like forget about anything else going on in the world and just like have fun. And it's, you know, lighthearted. And then sure enough, a few weeks later, it was announced that Sean Spicer, who was the former White House press secretary, would be a contestant on the upcoming season. And Tom felt like so betrayed. He felt lied to, and he was just really upset about this. So he ended up putting out a statement basically saying how he didn't support this casting decision. And it said that like that he didn't tell the ABC executives that he was putting out the statement because like obviously it was going to look bad for the network. And when he did that, he basically like went on record saying like he knew this was going to be his last season, and it was. And then the following year in 2020, both Tom and Erin Andrews were let go. And of course, the show worded it as creative differences, or not creative differences, but like a new creative direction. And they ended up hiring Tyra Banks to be the host, and she was, I think, a solo host for like 3 seasons, and it was also during COVID. Those were the dark years. Okay. So the fact that Tom Bergeron came back to be a guest host, like despite all of that, is kind of crazy. And I even saw a picture of him and Sean Spicer at like the after party, because I think Sean Spicer attended the taping, or at least the after party last week, and they were like water under the bridge. It was just like crazy. It's like, can Tom please come back? Like can Julianne maybe become another judge, and Alfonso is like working with Tom? Like, it'd be so sweet. It was so sweet. But yeah, so I loved that component of it. I also love, like, if you haven't noticed, they've been really leaning into TikTok this season. I mean, they have for the last couple seasons. But basically, all of the eliminated pros run like the TikTok live during the episode of the show. And I haven't watched it at the same time because it's a little overwhelming to like be watching on my phone and then watching on the TV, and it's a lot going on. So I haven't really, maybe like during commercial breaks, but this week or like last week for the 20th birthday, Brandon and Britt, who I just love them, and Brandon specifically, Brandon is so funny. Okay, if you're not on the Brandon like bandwagon, you need to get on it. And his wife Briley is the sweetest and funniest, and the two of them, I just love them and all the content they make. And I'm always like, yes, thank you, Briley, for getting Brandon to do this. But they ran a little like pre-show red carpet TikTok live where since they invited so many past like contestants and pros and stuff to come, ABC had a little like red carpet moment with the press and they would walk and do interviews and whatever. So Britt and Brandon hosted and they had so many like former stars come through, former pros. So Sharna was there, Lindsey Sterling, like Joey Lawrence. There were so many people who came through and just chatted, and it was just like so exciting. I was hoping Milo was going to be there, but Milo's been in New York, so I was just like, ugh, sad that he wasn't there. But it was really sweet to just get all the moments. I was mad that I didn't get to see Lindsay Arnold in it. The only time they spoke to her on the live was during the actual show, and I had like just missed it, so that was a bummer. But I love that, and the way that they're just like giving us so much content is just like, thank you, Dancing with the Stars. Really, really thank you. Okay, as for the actual show, the opening number was so fun. The fact that they brought back the original 6 pros, like, amazing. I didn't know it was only 6 pros and like 6 couples then for the first season. That's kind of like, that's less than half of what we have now. And then I loved the opening number though, to like the iconic theme song, like dun 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 dun, and they made like different variations and audio versions of it, and they did the whole routine. Like, it was great. As for the dances, I loved the way they picked iconic dances from over the years of Dancing with the Stars to like pay homage to. Of course, the best one in my opinion being Milo and Whitney's freestyle to Ain't No Sunshine. I have to say, like, watching Dylan and Daniela do that, it was weird because I hear the opening sound and I'm expecting to see Milo and Whitney. And I think Carrie Ann was a little dramatic to say like that was the best Argentine tango she's ever seen across the show. I don't know. I think they got a little caught up in like the specialness of the episode. But shout out to Whitney who got a second one of her dances paid homage to with her dance with Wayne Brady. I think it was her freestyle from a couple seasons ago. I know a lot of people were talking about Jana Kramer and Gleb's I think their Argentine tango to Hands to Myself by Selena Gomez. Like, if you know, you know. That is iconic. And I would agree with a lot of the comments about why they didn't do it, because who was going to do it justice? You know? Nobody is having the same chemistry and like, no, there are no showmances happening. So it's like, that was the showmance at its core, and no one could outdo the doer on that one. We got a lot of perfect scores, which is so fun to see. But a standout for me has to be the relay competition concept, because I think this could be the blueprint for a new All-Star season, okay? If you don't watch Dancing with the Stars, I don't know why you'd be watching this segment. You're probably skipping. But essentially, we had, instead of the stars dancing with their pros for the relay competition, which was basically where they pick a style and then the 2 couples dance against each other, and then the judges pick one couple that did it better. So instead of the star dancing with their pro, they actually had the stars dance with former mirror ball champions. And then the pro had to like coach them and teach them. So that was fun. And I think that could be a new format for an All-Star season. They've only done one All-Star season, first of all. It was season 15. So that was like 2012. Long time ago. So we need an All-Star season 2.0, but I think a fun format could be where we bring former contestants who did not win and they're paired with each other, and then a pro has to coach them. Like, that would be so exciting, and you could see double the amount of contestants, like Milo and Chandler. Zombies co-stars. You could argue both are robbed. That would be amazing, and I think it'd be so fun. I love nostalgia, and like Dancing with the Stars, if you're listening, how do we make that happen? Okay? And then the last thing to discuss for Dancing with the Stars, Andy and Emma finally went home. Like, I know it's mean to cheer for people to go home and he was sweet and all that, but at the same time, like, this is a dance competition, and I did find myself like really cheering when he went home, because every week we've been waiting for it. And it's like, people don't realize the consequences that other people had to go home then, you know, like they don't want him to go home, but someone had to go home. And I'm just very curious to see like what happens now, because now I'm like, I don't know who I want to go home. Like, it's such a tight competition, and we're already at the semifinals. Like, that's crazy. So yeah, next week we're definitely going to be talking about who made it to the finals. And gonna have a lot to discuss. And I think they're probably gonna do 5 people in the finale, which is just like, it's too much. I know it's a 3-hour finale, but bring back, like, there used to be a day where it used to be only 3. Remember that? So yeah, so that's Dancing with the Stars. Moving on, we've got some exciting movie news. So Sabrina Carpenter is going to star and produce in a new adaptation of Alice in Wonderland for Universal Pictures. Now, I think this is really fun. The movie is not yet titled. We don't know any of the plot details, but we know it's a musical, which, like, how could it not be? Like, Sabrina is a Grammy Award winning artist. Like, of course you're going to want to have her sing in it. So that's going to be really cool and fun. Mark Platt is also producing it, which, if you don't know who Mark Platt is, like, he's basically produced any musical you like. So all of the live action Disney remakes, he did the Wicked movies, so much. So, like, it's in good hands. I would also be intrigued. So, like, obviously Alice in Wonderland has had several adaptations. They've had the iconic, like, Disney animated one, which is probably what everyone thinks of in that cartoon image of Alice. There's also the Tim Burton version. So I think there are many variations, and I don't think this one is going to be just like a standard live action remake. Like, that's what Disney's for, you know? This is going to be, I think, more of a nuanced interpretation, just like how Barbie was, in a sense. Like, it wasn't as traditional as you thought. I mean, it still was, but, like, you know what I mean. And Sabrina Carpenter is obviously super funny, and and also Alice in Wonderland is one of those movies, or like children's books, because it's based on a children's book, but at least I mean, I'm sure I read it as a kid, but, like, I'm more familiar with the movies. But there's a lot of innuendo in it. Like, if you're not familiar, obviously in a lot of children's content, things are double coded to have, like, one meaning for kids, or, like, kids aren't going to understand the, like, adult context or the funny jokes. Like it's if you watch Shrek for the first time as an adult, you realize, like, wow, there are a lot of adult jokes in here, but obviously they went over your head as a kid because you had no idea. So I think Alice in Wonderland is kind of like that, and they can lean into it, especially with someone like Sabrina Carpenter, who has this very, like, comedic feel to her, and she's just funny and likes to be cheeky like that. So I think it's going to be a really good fit. And I'm excited to see how it happens. I know a lot of people were like, oh, but we wanted Sabrina for Tangled, for the live action remake of Tangled as Rapunzel. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to give it to Sabrina. I think they're going to give it to someone, like, either unknown or much lesser known than Sabrina. But yeah, should be fun. And I know, like, and they are making a live action movie of Polly Pocket starring Lily Collins. And, like, while I'm sure it's going to be fantastic, I feel like Sabrina Carpenter, like, everyone, like, she's the Polly Pocket, you know? Also, I'm so sorry if you're hearing lawn mowing and leaf blowing, because I do live in New York City and this is the challenge. But we're just going to keep rolling with it, okay? Okay, so that is Sabrina Carpenter in Alice in Wonderland movie. Then we had a few teaser and trailer drops, and by few I mean actually 4 of them, so we're going to go through them. The first one being the Devil Wears Prada 2. We got a very short little, like, teaser video, and this was somebody I mean, we then realize it's Meryl Streep as Miranda Priestley, but you can see them walking the floor of a magazine, like print magazine office space. You see these Valentino heels. Vogue by Madonna is playing in the background. It's all, like, hustle and bustle. And then there's some, like, interspersed video footage or, like, scenes of other things in the movies, like the Met Gala and some other stuff and whatever. And then we see her get into the elevator, turn around. We see iconic Meryl Streep as Miranda Priestley. And then Andy walks in, Anne Hathaway's character. And Miranda goes, like, took you long enough. And then she puts on the glasses, and it's just like, wow, we're back. So The Devil Wears Prada hits theaters on May 1st. And I have mixed feelings, because on the one hand, The Devil Wears Prada was never one of my favorite movies growing up. I saw it a bunch of times because it was literally on all the time, and I remember just, like, we would put it on as a family. And I don't know, something about it I just didn't love, but it does have one of my favorite scenes in all of Hollywood. The iconic, like, montage of all of Andy's different looks when she has, like, it's not a makeover montage exactly, because we don't see her actively being made over, but we see the different outfits. And when she's crossing the street, like, it's iconic. There's these coats that she wears, and I've like, the style is just everything. But as for the movie as a whole, it was never one of my favorites. So I'm like kind of indifferent to the fact that they did a sequel. Usually I don't love sequels, especially ones that are like the ones that are millions of years after the original, not millions, but you know what I mean. Where it's like, it's been a while, okay? And so it wasn't like a natural thing. Like they weren't naturally planning that. It's like they went back into the game and they're like, yeah, we could maybe do that after 20 years. Um, but I do think, and they're usually not good. That's always my biggest thing. But I will say, they got the entire cast back, which is actually genuinely crazy. Like Meryl Streep alone is like, the fact that she's in it means it can't be bad. It literally physically impossible for this movie to be bad, right? But and like, I mean, look at Freakier Friday. They got the original cast members back, and I thought Freakier Friday held up and it was just as good as the original. So I guess we should have faith, maybe. We should have faith. So that's The Devil Wears Prada 2, hitting theaters, like I said, May 1st. So be there. The next trailer teaser, it's more of a teaser that we got, was for Toy Story 5. So a little bit children's content out there, but I'm a Pixar fan, or at least like Toy Story franchises, at least like Toy Story 2 is my favorite. But the little teaser had us see a lot of the classic toys. We saw Jessie, we saw Woody and Buzz, and Forky, and Forky has a girlfriend. That's like the big thing people were talking about. And the idea is that Bonnie, their owner, she gets a new toy, and they open the box and it's a lily pad, aka like obviously a play on like a leapfrog or an iPad. And I think it's going to be very interesting, to say the least, to see Toy Story 5 kind of tackle the new realm of like the digital toy experience compared to a classic toy. And that kind of even relates to The Devil Wears Prada too a little bit, because I know they're saying the plot is going to be about like mirroring what has happened with like print magazine. Obviously was huge when the original Devil Wears Prada came out, and since then it's died because everything's digital now. So it's kind of similar storytelling, Toy Story 5 and The Devil Wears Prada 2. Who knew? So that'll be fun, I guess. And I'm curious to know if Toy Story 5 is going to be able to make me cry, because like I cried at the end of Toy Story 3, and then you're watching Toy Story 3 and you're like, and then you learn about Toy Story 4 and they're like, how can they outdo that ending of Toy Story 3 in terms of making me cry? And then they did outdo the ending and made me cry even more. So my thing is like, how do we top that again? And like the theme is just continuing to make me cry. So so Pixar, you've got big shoes to fill for your last 4 movies, Okay. Then one that I'm elated to talk about. If you do not know, hi, my name is Laura and I'm a Swiftie, okay? I am a Taylor Swift fan through and through, and I'm ashamed to admit this because I did actually totally forget that we're getting the End of an Era docuseries in December. I forgot about it up until a few days before the trailer dropped, because I was thinking about things coming out in December, and then somehow I like was reading something, I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot about the End of an Era docuseries. And I'm like, it's like a surprise all over again that we're getting it. So they dropped the trailer last week, and we got to see the full trailer, because a lot of people were confused saying that there was a trailer already. That was the teaser, okay? This works in Hollywood. We get a teaser, and then you get a trailer. Okay, so the trailer showed us a lot of the things that we're going to get to see. So we're going to get to see behind the scenes of Taylor working with Sabrina Carpenter and Ed Sheeran and Travis Kelce, and like rehearsing their bits for when they were going to come on stage and do their whole thing. We're going to see, obviously, how she concocted the surprise song mashups. And literally, there's a scene at the end where she is like talking about the very last surprise song mashup of Long Live New Year's Day and the manuscript. And she goes in detail. She's talking about the different ways she's singing it. And her mom's like, well, that's complicated. And it's like, to say the least. To say the least. I'm most excited to hear about the surprise song renditions, how she came up with the set lists. Something people did catch, though, and I'm really glad about it, is there's a little snippet you can see Hard Rock Stadium, which is the Miami Dolphins stadium. I did go to a Miami show, not night 1, but I went to night 3, so it was pretty freaking fantastic. And we saw a clip of Taylor in the gold rep bodysuit, and we know, so the fact that we saw a clip of her in the gold rep bodysuit and a clip of Hard Rock means there has to be a whole segment or maybe at least something of her talking about introducing the gold rep bodysuit. And it's like, can she talk about why she did it? Like, why did she literally wear this red rep bodysuit for like 100 something shows, only to debut the gold one for the last handful of cities? Like, and also she didn't announce Reputation. There was no Reputation. Little did we know, she said like, yeah, I actually like barely I didn't even record half of it at that point. I'm like, so why did she do it? What happened? So I want that. I think everyone needs that for their like sanity. So that'll be exciting. So the Taylor Swift docuseries, The End of an Era, the first 2 episodes release on December 12th on Disney Plus, and there are a total of 6 episodes. So I don't know if it's going to be 2 episodes the next Friday or if it's just one. So we will wait and see. But it's very exciting, and also with that is the recording of the Eras tour again, but this time it includes the Tortured Poets Department segment. So it's probably they recorded it. I'm assuming the show that was in Vancouver, I'm assuming they recorded the last show because it's special and stuff. So that'll also be available on December 12th. So Swifties, lock in. Okay, and then the very last trailer we have to talk about, we're not going to talk about it that much, but Wuthering Heights, the new movie that comes out Valentine's Day, which is an adaptation of the classic novel, starring Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. They just released a new full trailer, and you can hear more of Charlie XCX's original song because she did original music for the movie. But my biggest gripe with the trailer is the opening. It has like some text on the screen, you know, like between the clips, it has a little like quote or whatever. And it says the greatest love story of all time. I'm like, now personally, I haven't even read Wuthering Heights, so I don't really even know the love story of these characters, but I would argue definitely from a literary perspective, maybe even an all-time perspective, but like the greatest love story of all time, is it not Romeo and Juliet from Shakespeare? Like, I thought that was a universal agreement. Like, I think if you were to ask people on the street, like, what is the greatest love story of all time, maybe you'd have to frame it in a literary sense, because I don't know if people would automatically go there, but, like, you should. Romeo and Juliet would be the universal answer. Like, I would bet money on that. So, yeah, that was a choice. The movie as a whole is a choice. It's an Emerald Fennell film. If you don't know, she directed Saltburn. That sums it up. So, yeah. Okay, so that concludes our discussion on everything that happened in like the world of TV and movies from the last week, or at least the things that I care about, and therefore I would think you would care about. And now we're going to talk about what I'm currently watching. Honestly, there hasn't been that much, so this is just like a brief little overview. So the number one is I've been rewatching Stranger Things in anticipation of the final season. As I record this, I'm in the middle of season 4. Which, it's funny, I just saw a TikTok last night being like, oh, as you go on to watch Stranger Things to rewatch Stranger Things, but the length of the episodes gets longer and longer and it's harder to do. And I'm like, so there right now. But it's been really fun to rewatch the show because now I only watched Stranger Things for the first time in the summer of 2022 when season 4 came out. So it's definitely fresher for me than I guess someone who watched every season when they were live and first came out. But it's still been 3.5 years, and I felt like for a show as big and detailed as Stranger Things, I wanted to appreciate the ending, and I felt like the only way I would be able to truly appreciate it was if I rewatched the original, if I rewatched the show, the 4 seasons that came before. And I'm really glad I did, and I did make recap videos, so if you don't want to rewatch it, but you want to know what happens and have a reminder, my TikTok has recaps. As of now, I have seasons 1 through 3 up. Like I said, I'm still watching season 4, so that one will be coming soon, definitely in time before the season 5 first volume release on November 26th at 8 p.m. Because yes, if you didn't know, now you know, Stranger Things season 5 is broken up into 3 sections. Volume 1 drops on on Wednesday, November 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern, the night before Thanksgiving. Then we've got Volume 2, which drops on Christmas Day, December 25th, also at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then the last episode, the series finale, drops at 8 p.m. Eastern on New Year's Eve, December 31st. And you can see that one in theaters, I believe, but only in select locations. I think it's actually only LA and New York. I might try to see it because I feel like that would be freaking epic. But we'll see. It is crazy. It's New Year's and like it's only at 8 p.m. and whatever. But yeah, the episodes are long, I'm sure. I don't know how many episodes there are. I'm sure they released it. So maybe it's going to be the last several seasons. I thought every season was always 8, but some of them are 9 actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would be 4 episodes in volume 1, 4 episodes in volume 2, and then the 9th episode is the series finale. But we can look into that. Other things I've been watching, Maxton Hall, of course, season 2. I am behind though. I'm sorry, I did not watch episode 4 yet. So far it's been good. I'm just frustrated with elements of it. And the show is, though, like, I wish it was longer than 6 episodes, you know? That's kind of all I have to say. I watch it dubbed. It's actually tolerable. And my biggest gripe with Maxton Hall is, why is it in another language when it takes place in England? Like, why not set it elsewhere then if they're not going to speak English? You know? It's just a thought. Obviously, Dancing with the Stars I've been watching. The Morning Show season 4. I am behind. The season finale airs this week, so I haven't watched, like, I'm on episode 7, I think, out of 10. So I have to get back into that. And then the last show, I was perusing Netflix last week, and I wanted something, like, different to watch, I don't know. And I came across Poldark. It's giving, like, Outlander, a little bit of Bridgerton-esque vibes that, like, takes place in, like, the 18th century. If anyone has watched it and has good things to say, let me know. But I've only watched, like, the first episode, or, like, and I'm, like, maybe a little bit into the second episode. So we'll see if I actually continue watching it. But for right now, I'm documenting that I have started it. And then movies, the only movie I watched, well, technically I rewatched The Hating Game with Lucy Hale because I wanted a rom-com, and that was fun. And then I watched The Running Man in theaters. I had the privilege of attending the Running Man premiere in New York last week. And it doesn't dawn on me that I've been in the same room as Glenn Powell like 3 times in the last 6 weeks. Like, I saw him at the Running Man premiere. I saw him at Comic-Con when he talked about The Running Man. And then the first time was I saw him and met him and spoke to him at the Chad Powers premiere in New York. And I fear I girl boss too close to the sun, you know, but he was hands down, like, I haven't spoken to many celebrities. Like, if I see celebrities, I see them. I don't really, like, go over and speak to many of them. So he's definitely the celebrity I spoke to the most, and he was so kind. He took the time to speak to everyone that came up to him. We took pictures, and I told him how I review TV shows and movies, and he was really like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I look forward to seeing it. And I'm like, okay, Glenn Powell's going to watch my stuff. But The Running Man, overall, I was excited for the movie going in because I just love Glenn Powell. I will say I've never read the Stephen King book that it's based on, and Edgar Wright is the director of the film, he directed Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is, I know, a cult classic favorite for some people. I personally hated the film. I had to watch it for a film class in college and just didn't understand why people liked it. But that aside, the first hour of The Running Man really had me, and then it was still good. The landing just didn't stick for me. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd. If you're not following me on Letterboxd, be sure to do so. So I don't know. I would recommend it if you like. It's really action-packed. It's really comedic in a weird way, and the writing and like it's more intense. Like it's definitely dark and some gory things and whatnot, but it's entertaining. And Glenn Powell truly is becoming this like mega movie star, and I love that for him. So go see The Running Man. It's in theaters now, and you'll have a fun time regardless. So that's everything I've been watching, and then that kind of wraps up this first episode of Not So Critically Acclaimed, bringing it back. As for next week's episode, assuming all things go well and I actually do upload this and put it out there, I'm planning on talking about Wicked for Good, because as I record this, it's Monday. I will be attending the Wicked for Good premiere in New York tonight. I don't know how. I'm grateful beyond words. I'm so excited to see this movie. I do need to rewatch Wicked. I'm going to do that probably now after recording this. I'm ready to cry. I'm ready to see all sorts of who knows who in the place, in the venue. And by the time we talk next, if I, like I said, put this actually out there, Wicked for Good will be in theaters and you can see it a million times over. So we're going to talk about that next week. We'll also talk about who is going to the Dancing with the Stars finale, because that is next week already, which is crazy. And then whatever other fun and exciting TV and movie news happens this week. So that is everything. That is a wrap. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this new realm, this new chapter for Not So Critically Acclaimed, and you like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. This will be videos on YouTube. Also, I know Spotify now has like audio and visual podcasts and stuff, and everywhere you listen to your podcast. So be sure to do all of those things. And if you're not already following me on Instagram and TikTok, please do so at Not So Critically Acclaimed. I have all sorts of fun short form videos and reactions about TV and movie news, reviews, and recommendations. That's my little thing that I like to say. So thanks for watching and stay tuned for more. Bye.